Welcome into Woody Hayes Quaker Stadium and our next edition of Two-A-Days. Chris Kale, Adam Sweski here with you. The new Philadelphia Quakers brought to you all season long by Gillen Body Shop. And Adam, this team going to look very different on the offensive side of the football. They lost a lot of kids, but you know what? They've got their centerpiece, their signal color back, Keaton Fossil.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I think we've mentioned this throughout the two-a-day coverage that anytime you have your signal caller back, that makes life, not that life's going to be easy, but it makes it a little bit easier. You know, when you have to keep revolving that quarterback door, it makes it very, very difficult. But to bring one back that got the experience through a very difficult OCC schedule last year and eventually to play against the eventual state champ, he got an awful lot of experience last year, and that's only going to pay huge dividends this year. Yeah,
and when you look at last year, you know, things didn't come out in Week 9 the way they wanted to against West Holmes, and to be able to bounce off the mat and beat a Dover team in overtime, your rival, right, and then go in and play a really good first half, and they were leading the Canfield Cardinals, who would go on to be the state champions. All the credit to head coach Mike Johnson and his staff.
Yeah, absolutely. To put them in a position to teach their kids, you know, that loss didn't define them in Week 9. They were able to bounce back, get that ever so important Week 10 victory, and then to play Canfield the way that they did, and everybody saw how good Canfield was. You know, the head blocker, Brock Lowry, I believe was his name, the quarterback at Canfield. He was a 4-year starter. He's a D1 kid. Everybody knew Canfield was going to be good. State champ good? I don't know about that, but they proved everybody wrong, and they got it done.
Yeah, they were in for a street fight, and they came armed and ready to play. You know, they come in, obviously, or finished up 6-5 last year and did have that playoff berth. They lose to Dover. They don't get into the playoffs. They don't get that shot for that street fight against Canfield. This year, back OCC play, they start out with Louisville. Then they travel down to Death Valley to take off, or to take on Steubenville, rather, before they start OCC play. Yeah, it's the schedule is tough for the Quakers with a lot of new pieces.
Yeah, and the schedule needs to be tough. You know, that Steubenville game's even more important now because to play a quality opponent like that in Week 2, knowing what's ahead in the OCC, I mean, I don't foresee that Steubenville game ever coming off the schedule now because it just makes sense to play a good quality team like that early in the year.
Yeah, it absolutely does, and, you know, we'll have to see what head coach Mike Johnson has to say. With head coach Mike Johnson of the new Philadelphia Quakers, coach a good season last year, obviously playoff run, played Canfield very well, and we know what Canfield ended up going on to do. Just quick recap of last year.
Yeah, last year was it was a good year. It was our first year in the league, new in the OCC, so it was kind of nice to get that first year in the OCC under our belt. Now we know what to expect a little bit more with who we're playing, the style of football they play. So that's something that's exciting to have in our past. Finished with a great game Week 10, classic with the rivals, and then going up to Canfield, it was a tight one.
Yes, it
tight
was.
One up into that fourth quarter, and then they pulled away a little bit, and they went on to win the state championship because they were a darn good football team. So it was a nice year, and now we're on to 2023.
Absolutely. So talk about camp. A lot of new faces. Big turnover, especially on the offensive side. That you guys graduated a lot of good kids, but your signal caller back, obviously, Keaton Fossil. He's going to be the centerpiece of your offense. Talk about some of the other key components on the offensive side of the football through camp so far.
Well, it's been a nice kind of change of pace. We got a quarterback back. And then we feel good about that. It's nice to have Keaton back. We got a couple of staples at each tackle position. Boston Crow at the left tackle was a returning starter. Garrett Dillon Ryan at the right tackle was a returning starter. So now it's kind of filling in the rest of the pieces. We had a couple guys last year play a little bit on offense. They're going to play more. Edney Richardson at running back is going to play a lot and carry the ball for us. Wideouts, Jordy Dela Cruz, Carson Long, Pete DiDonato, Owen Shellis, Lucas Yeager at tight end, Hudson Osborne at center. So we got a lot of guys kind of stepping up, and we're really actually excited to see what happens Saturday. We get the first scrimmage, and once we get we'll get a little bit of better understanding of who's where after that.
Absolutely. Well, and that's what I was going to ask you. As a coach, right, you come in, and if you have a lot of returners, you don't have to coach as hard, right? So now you've got a lot of new kids stepping in, makes you step up your game. That's got to be kind of fun to do that, though, right?
It is. Everybody, there's high expectations. There's always high expectations, and there should be here at New Philadelphia. So that's what we do. We're pushing everybody. We want the best versions of ourselves every day, and that's what we're pushing for. And it's not always easy, but our coaches are working hard, and our kids are responding well.
Coach, looking at the schedule, Louisville, always a tough opponent. You get them at home to open up in week number 1. Then you travel down to Crazyville down there in Steubenville. Talk about the first couple weeks, what you're looking forward to schedule-wise this year.
Well, it's exciting playing Louisville. We're playing them for the next 2 years. This year will be home. Next year will be up at Louisville, and it's exciting getting a new opponent. But it's an opponent you know a little bit about just because they're local. Right. So it's kind of exciting to have that. But it'll be interesting. Yeah. I mean, to say the least. But then going down to Death Valley week 2, Steubenville, it's always a good test. I know they lost a lot of good players, but they have a lot of guys back. Oh, yeah. And then we start OCC play the next week with Worcester coming home. So it'll be it's a good start of the season. It happens fast. It happens so fast. I mean, we're 2 weeks away. Yeah, and in 3 of your final 5 on the road, and then everything finishing up with, of course, the rival across the river. Your schedule sets up well. The OCC, always a tough league. How do you feel things went last year in your first year and moving into year number 2? Like you said, the familiarity with everything, but, I think, last year was good. It was good. You get some of those road trips under your belt. Some of the guys that are going to be playing this year went there on Saturday morning for JVs. So they've been on the bus there. Right. But it's Friday nights on the bus. The travel's nothing. It's just what you do. But knowing who you're playing, having an idea who's where, the style of play, I think that's huge. That's one of the biggest things. There's been one change, I think, as far as a coach goes. One coach went from one school to another, and there's a new one at Madison. But so everybody's back. We got a little bit we know who's who, and that's exciting. Well, Coach, we're looking forward to covering you all year just like we do, and looking forward to talking to you after some big wins on Friday nights this year. Sounds great. I appreciate it. Thank you. All right. Thanks, Coach. All right, thanks again to Mike Johnson, head coach of the New Philadelphia Quakers, for joining us. They play 3 of their first 4 at home, but then they play 3 of their last 4 on the road. Coach Johnson he gave us a lot of names to keep watch of for this year. Seems excited about his kids. Yeah, absolutely. And that's, we've talked about this at other stops. That's, when you build that program, that's why coaches are able to say a long list of names that could potentially take those open varsity starting positions, because they're all working for that. They've seen the success over the years at New Philadelphia. And, this is more than just here. This is numerous schools. But when you see success, it puts that drive into those younger kids. And now those younger kids are sophomores and juniors, and now they're going to get their chance to shine. Yeah, absolutely, and it's getting warm out here in 2-a-days, isn't it? I'll tell you what, I don't envy these kids out here hitting today, and the water is flowing hard and long today here at Woody Hayes Quaker Stadium. Again, thank you to Gillen Body Shop. Week 1 of the New Philadelphia Quakers, the Louisville Leopards, looming large right here at Woody Hayes Quaker Stadium. We'll see you on our next stop at 2-a-days. Chris Gale, Adam Soeski for Big Z Sports.